Hi, you're highly welcome to this YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to show you how to draft, cut and sew a female button down or button up shirt with collar. I'm going to show you how to do this easily, and if this is something you want to watch, then keep watching and do not touch the dial. For drafting a shirt collar, you need your fabric. So I'm making use of this fabric and it has this silky feel. I'm making use of this fabric. You can make use of any fabric of your choice, and also you need the paper stay or the lightest gum stay to make the collar firm. That's just its purpose. If you're on the plus size, you would need 2 yards, yes, even for a long sleeve. But if you are maybe a size 6, I think size 8, then I think 1.5 yard is enough for you. So I'll go ahead and start the drafting, and the first step is to mark out the length I want for this shirt I'm about to make. So the length I am working with is 26 inches, so I'll add 1 inch for aiming allowance, making it 27 inches I just marked out. So I'll go ahead and rule a straight line like this. Moving on, for the button space or placket, I'll be leaving 2.5 inches for that. You can make use of 3 inches for your button space. That's the area where you're going to put your buttons. But for me, I'm just going to, make use of 2.5 inches, which I am marking up like this, as you can see the way I am marking it. I hope you understand, but don't worry, soon you get the picture of everything. After doing this, I'll go ahead and take out my rule to connect this dots together to really straight line like this. Please note that we are drafting a front pattern now, and obviously your buttons are on your front patterns, right? So the more reason I am leaving this 2.5 inches for the button placket, this 2.5 inches for the button space. I hope you grab. Now for the neck width, I'll be using 2.5 inches for the neck width. Before I would go ahead with the drafting, I would want to fold in this 2.5 inches I marked out for the placket, so that this whole drafting will be way more easier to understand. After folding in the button placket or space, we'll go ahead with the drafting proper. So like I earlier stated, I am using 2.5 inches for my neck width, which I've already marked out. For the neck depth, I'll be making use of 3 inches. If you want your collar to be very tight to your neck whenever you button up, then make use of 2.5 inches for your neck depth. So I've gone ahead to connect my neckline like so. For my shoulder, I'll divide my shoulder measurement by 2, then I impute the measurement. Then I went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope or slant. Then I'll connect this to my neckline like this. I hope you understand. Moving on, for your armhole depth, you divide your bust measurement by 6, then add 1.5 inches. So after calculating for mine, I add 8 inches, which I have gone ahead to mark out like this. Then next, I'll take my rule and connect this to the shoulder slope. Now after connecting, on this armhole depth point, I am going to divide my bust measurement by 4 and impute what I got. So my bust measurement is 39 divided by 4 gives me 9.75, which I have gone ahead to mark out. Then I'll take my rule and connect this back to this armhole depth like this. Now it's time to create our armhole curve. Now for that, you find the midpoints of your armhole by folding your tape like this to get the midpoints. Obviously the midpoint of my armhole depth, which is 8, is 4 inches. Then I'll come in by 1/2 inch at this point. So I'm going to connect this to this to this. So I'll go like this, connect it to this 1/2 inch I came in with, and connect it back to my bust measurement, like so. Moving on, I'll go ahead and mark out my vertical measurement. So I'll go in and place my tape like this. So firstly, I'll mark out my bust points, my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10.75, and that is what I am marking out. I'll take my rule and rule a straight line like this. Once this is done, the next is to mark out my shoulder to my under bust, and that is 14.75 for me. So I'll go ahead and mark that out, my shoulder to my under bust measurement. If you do not know how to take your measurement, I have done a video on that. I'll drop the link on the description box. And also, I've also done a video on calculations and formulas you can do to also get, this measurements accurately, get your armhole depth and all of that. So I will just drop the link on the description box. So this is my under bust line. Then next, to get your waistline, you just go down from your under bust line with 3 inches like this. And that is what I am marking across like this. To get my waistline, you mark 3 inches from your under bust line. It is standard. So I'll go ahead and connect these dots as well. If you've watched my videos, you would be used to, drafting your basic bodies, and that is what I am doing right now. So obviously this is my full length, also represents my hip length. Yeah. Next, I will go in and impute my bust measurement on this bust point. So my bust divided by 4 gives me 9.75. I'll mark that out. So I want a lot of ease when putting on the shirt. So I'm making use of 3 inches allowance, which is 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. If you want a fitted shirt, you use 1 inch for sewing allowance, and you go ahead and place your normal basic bodies darts, and you replace back what you took for your darts. I hope you understand. Also, if you do not want a fitted shirt, and also you do not want to have this much ease that I placed for mine, that I did for mine, you can go ahead and use 2 inches for your allowance, which is 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing. So at this under bust line, I'll go ahead and divide my under bust measurement by 4, and I will also add my 3 inches for sewing allowance. Hope you understand everything about this allowance thing when it comes to your shirt. Now for the waistline, I'll go ahead and divide my waist measurements by 4 as well and mark it out. And then I'll also add my 3 inches allowance. So whatever allowance you decide to use, you're going to use the allowance all through. You grab. Now for my hip full length, I'm going to divide my hip measurement by 4 and also add my 3 inches allowance. Now I'll go ahead and connect these lines together like this, as you can see. I'll go ahead and connect this together. I hope you understand this whole thing. Anything you do not understand, just drop your question on the comment section, and I will try my best as much as possible to respond to those questions. So now we have our front pattern drafted out. If you desire that curved part that is on most shirts, probably you don't want this kind of shape, you want the curved shape, just go up by 2 inches at your side here, and then you just curve it down to the full length. Now once this is done, the next step is to go ahead and cut this out. So you just go ahead and cut it out like so. At this point, our front pattern is ready. We'll go ahead and use this to draft out the back pattern. So you place out a new pattern paper or newspaper, and then you place your front pattern on it like this. Now, to ease the stress of redrafting your back pattern again from scratch, we'll just go ahead and trace the sides out like this. You can see the way I placed my front pattern on this new pattern paper to trace out the back pattern. So you just go ahead and trace it out like this, as you can see. So this eases your stress of redrafting everything all over again. So just, trace out this side like this, and then we'll trace out this shoulder slope or slant as well. Now we'll take off the front pattern paper. So what we're going to do next is we're going to complete this back drafting. So we're going to go ahead, and you already know the neck width we are working with is 2.5 inches, right? Then for the neck depth for the back, I am using 1 inch for the back neck depth. So I'll just connect this to the 2.5 inches for the neck width. Next, for the armhole depth, remember after calculating I got 8 inches, so I'll go ahead and mark out the 8 inches like so, and I'll use my rule to connect this to the shoulder slope like this. Next, I will divide my bust measurements by 4, my bust circumference divided by 4, which I got 9.75, and I have marked out, and I'll connect this to the armhole depth as well like this. Now to create the armhole curve for the back, you just create your curve, draw a curve like this. So you can see the armhole curve for the back is different from the front, so that's just it, just a little different. Now that we have done this, our back pattern is almost ready, so go ahead and cut this out. So you cut. So next, to complete this back pattern, we're going to go ahead and bring in our front pattern. The reason for this is because we want to achieve the come down that shirts do have. Yes, so to achieve that come down at the shoulder, we're going to mark 1 inch from the shoulder on your front pattern. Yes, so this is done on your front pattern. So you come down by 1 inch from the shoulder, 1 inch from the shoulder, just the way I'm doing it on your front pattern, please. Then you go ahead and connect. Next, we're going to bring in our scissors, and we're going to, cut this out from our front pattern shoulder. Now, once this is done, next we're going to flip what we have cut out. We're going to flip it over like this to the back shoulder. Can you see the simple logic? Now we're going to bring in our sellotape or your pin to, join this to the back shoulder. You can see this easy method. Now, the reason for cutting this, because most times you can just add 1 inch to the back shoulder while drafting. But the reason for, going through this process is so that we have the neckline gets to align with the front, and also the armhole gets to align with the front armhole. I hope you grab. So when you bend it over like this, you can see that the neckline aligns, is equal, and the armhole aligns. So that's just the reason for going through this process. Now that we have done this, our front pattern, you can go ahead and open up the button placket. Our back pattern is ready, and our front pattern is ready as well. Moving on, we're going to use these patterns to cut out the fabric. So you go ahead and fold your fabric into 2. Make sure your fabric is on fold. Then place your pattern paper on it. If your fabric is slippery, then make sure you use your pins to hold your pattern paper down. So you can see I left 1/2 inch at the shoulder while cutting. So that's the only thing you have to add to your fabric when you're cutting. You just only add 1/2 inch at the shoulder side. That's all for joining. Now that we're done, you go ahead and remove the pins so that we can open up this so that I will show you. Now when you open up, your back pattern is ready. Next, our front pattern, you go ahead and also pin down your front pattern to your fabric if your fabric is slippery, and make sure your fabric is on fold. That is, you fold your fabric into 2 as well. Now we're going to cut. We'll cut. We're not leaving any 1/2 inch at the side or at the armhole, but at the shoulder you leave 1/2 inch, just like I did here for joining. So you go ahead and cut the rest exactly what you have on the pattern paper. Now that we're done, we're going to open up this center front we open it up like this. We'll go ahead and remove this pins, and don't forget to notch at this 2.5 inch point, or if you're making use of your 3 inches, so that you know where your button placket starts from. So this is the front pattern. Next, we're going to fold in this button placket and sew. So in folding in, you just fold in 1/2 inch and then bend it over like this to where you notch. So that's where your button placket stops. So you fold it over and you run a stitch on it down. You run a neat stitch on it. So I have done that, as you can see. I've run a stitch on it, and I'm just going to cut off this excess. I'll cut off this excess pointy edge at the front placket, at the top of the front placket. So next, you bring in your back pattern and you go ahead and place your front patterns on it like this, making sure the right side of the fabric is facing each other, as you can see. So you go ahead and place your front pattern on your back pattern, and make sure the right side of the fabrics are facing each other. So we're going to go ahead and close up the shoulders and also close up the sides. You close up with sides with 1 inch, which you left for your sewing allowance. So I have closed up the shoulders. You can see the let down at the front. You can see the stitches here, and the let down at the front is there. You can see how beautiful it is. And I have gone ahead to iron the button placket for a neater look. Moving on, it's time to sew in the sleeve for your shirt. So you just go ahead and measure round the armhole circumference of the shirt. So you just measure round to see what you have. So you just measure round like this. And if possible, you can take your measurement twice to be certain you have an accurate measurement. So for me, I have 26 round armhole. Then I'll go ahead and bring out a piece of paper to draft out the sleeve for this shirt. And as you can see, my pattern paper is on fold and it is 14 inches wide. So I'll go ahead and mark out a starting line. So the reason for marking out the starting line is because the edges of my pattern paper are not equal, and to avoid any form of uneven measurements during the course of my drafting, I am just going to draw a starting line, which is a straight line. So I'll go ahead and rule across like so. For the sleeve length, I was aiming for a long sleeve, but my fabric is not enough, so I'll just settle for a short sleeve. So I want my short sleeve to be 9 inches long, and I'm just going to add 1 inch for sewing allowance. So the more reason I said you should just get 2 yards, at least 2 yards, if you want a long sleeve shirt. So I'll go ahead and mark out this 10 inch, which is 9 inches my actual length, then 1 inch for aiming allowance. Then I'll go ahead and connect this like so. After connecting, this is my full length, also my biceps, because your short sleeve stops at your biceps, around your biceps. So I'll go for the cap height. I'll go down by 4 inch, although 5 inch is the standard cap height number, but I love using 4 inch. It goes well for me and it's okay, yes, but 5 inch is the standard number, but I am going down from my starting line with 4 because that's what I just love doing. So I'll go ahead and mark this out with my rule. Just straighten this out, and this line represents my cap height. Next, you go ahead and divide what you got for your armhole circumference on your shirt by 2. So you know, after measuring around my armhole for my shirt, I got 26 inches. So divided by 2 gives me 13, which I've gone ahead to mark out on this cap height line. Then I'll go ahead and add 1 inch for sewing allowance like this. I have done a video before on how to draft out your sleeves. So in case you want a long sleeve, I'll just drop the link on the description box so you go ahead and watch that out. Now on this full length, you go ahead and measure your biceps like this with the pictures shown on the screen. That's how you measure for your biceps. So after measuring for mine, I have 13 inches. So 13 divided by 2 gives me 6.5 inches. You divide what you got round your biceps by 2. So it gives me 6.5, which I have marked out. Then I'll go ahead and add 2 inches allowance. So I'll go ahead and add the 2 inches for sewing allowance like this. So 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing. I hope you understand. Let me make this very bright so you'd understand way better. So remember, I added 2 inches for sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and connect these points together, these lines together like this. So I'll connect it like this, as you can see. Next, to connect the starting line to your cap height line, you go ahead and find the midpoint on your cap height measurement. And after finding the midpoint, you take it down. Then you find the midpoint between your starting line and your cap height line. So I thought I was recording this, but unfortunately I wasn't. So what happened here was, after finding the midpoint between your starting line and your cap height line, you go ahead and tick it out. And then you just curve to that midpoint and curve it down to your cap height line. Hope you understand. You curve it down to that 1 inch allowance that you gave after marking out your measurements on your cap height line. So that way you have something like an S shape. So that's just it. It's very simple. So we're going to go ahead and cut this out now. So our sleeve is ready. My sleeve is ready. Let me be specific. So the sleeve is ready. So it's very easy. If you have a method that works for you when it comes to cutting sleeve, just make sure you stick to it. As far as it gives you a perfect sleeve, you can go ahead and stick to it. But if you do not, this is also a very easy way to cut out your sleeve. Now, next step is, on one side of the pattern paper, we're going to come down by ½ an inch. This is optional. This is optional. But most times this is done so the, front pattern relax. Then you blend it in to the midpoint. You see what I did here? You just blend it in like this. So we're going to go ahead and cut this out. We'll cut this out like this. Please just watch closely how it's done. Then this is the front side of the sleeve, and this is the back side of the sleeve. You go ahead and indicate it on your pattern paper. So we're going to use this to cut out the sleeve, which I have done. You cut 2 of it. So after cutting it out, you just go ahead and remove your pins. You remove your pins like this. You notch the center so you know, okay, this is the mid center of my sleeve. So after having 2 of it, you go ahead and open it up and place the other sleeve on it, making sure that the right side of both sleeves are facing each other and the notched part is also lying directly on each other, as you can see. Then you go ahead and open up your pattern paper and place it. Now what we're trying to do is we want to remove that ½ an inch on the fabric as well on the front side of the sleeve. I hope you understand. Now, why this ½ an inch is being removed is so that we have a relaxed side at the front sleeve joining. Yes, I hope you understand. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. Cut out the ½ an inch like this. Now that this is done, our sleeve is ready. So you indicate your front side of the sleeve on the fabric as well. So next we're going to attach the sleeve now to the shirt, and in doing that you find the midpoint, the center of your armhole, by notching it like this. Hope you see what I am doing. So this is the center or the midpoint. Then we'll go ahead and bring in the sleeve and make sure that the right side of the sleeve is facing the right side of the shirt like this. And also where we notched on the sleeve is also lying on where we notched on the shirt as well. Now you can see that this is the front part of the shirt, the front pattern of the shirt, and you can see this front part of the sleeve is lying on the front part of the shirt as well. So go ahead and use our pin to hold this down round so that we can go ahead and sew it round, stitch on it round. I hope you grab. So it's very easy. It's a very easy method. So just go ahead and use our pins to pin it round. So after pinning round, I'll go ahead and sew this round like this. And I'll come and show you what to do next. So as you can see, I have sewn both sleeve round to the armhole. So the next step is I am going to go ahead and, close up this sleeve. So you can see, I'll go ahead and close up the sleeve like this, making sure there's 1 inch left on the biceps line. Before you close up the sleeve, you need to aim the down like this, fold it in and fold it in again and stitch on it. We left 1 inch for aiming, so you go ahead and aim your sleeve, the bottom of your sleeve, and you also aim the bottom of your shirt and you close up your sleeve. So after doing that, I'll show you. Now it is done. You can see that I have aimed it and I have aimed the down part of the shirt as well. So after closing up the sleeve, you can go ahead and cut off any excess. But if your excess on your sleeve is not that much, then no need for you to cut out. But make sure you leave 1 inch space when doing that. You can see I have 1 inch from my stitching line. So you go ahead and weave it, weave where necessary. Now I'll go ahead and draft out the collar. First step is to measure around the neckline of the shirt. I'll go ahead and do that. Please note that you have to take multiple measurements of the neckline of the shirt so that you're certain that you have an accurate measurement. So after taking multiple measurements of mine, and I'm certain that okay, this is what I arrived at, which is 20.62 inches. I'll go right ahead and cut out a piece of my lightest gum stain that is big enough to contain my neckline measurement. So this lightest gum stain has a reflective side, and it is this reflective side you iron on your fabric. So I'll go ahead and fold it into 2 like this. Next, I'll go up by half an inch at this point. So the reason why I am going up by half an inch here is to draw out my starting line. As you can see, the edges of this paper is not straight. So to avoid any form of uneven measurement, I just have to draw a straight line. The more reason I'm going up with half an inch to draw out my starting line, which is a straight line. So I'll go ahead and just rule a straight line across like this, as you can see. So this line represents my starting line. I'll just, indicate that right here. I'll just write it down. So please always remember that the paper is on fold here. So next step is I want to draft out the collar stand. So before that, I need to divide what I got for my round neckline, which is 20.62 inches divided by 2, since this paper is folded into 2, and it gave me 10.31. And that I have gone ahead to mark out 10.31. Please mark out this measurement. That's why you need an accurate measurement for your shirt neckline. So I have marked that out. The next step is I will go up here by half an inch. as you can see. So I went up by 1/2 inch. The next step is to find the midpoints between this 10.31. I'll just go ahead and fold my tape like this to get the midpoints. I hope you understand. Then I'll just mark out the midpoints like this. So I'm going to go ahead and curve from this 1/2 inch to this midpoint. The reason for this curving is so that I have a balanced collar on my neckline, so that it's balanced well on my neckline. Next step, I'm going to go up here with 1.25 inches. So I'm just going to, 1.25 inches. That is how wide I want my collar stand to be, 1.25 inches. If you do not know how to read your tape, you really need to know how to read your tape for making a perfect collar. Yes, you really do need that. I've already done an extensive video where I explained extensively on how to read your tape, so I'll just drop the link on the description box so you go ahead and watch it out and learn something new. So I'll go ahead and connect these lines, or should I say dots. So I'll go ahead and connect them together like this, as you can see me doing right now. Then I will just connect down like this. I hope you understand this whole picture. So I want a beautiful curve here, because it's beautiful when you have a curve at your collar stand top. So I just came in by 1/2 inch and I just curved like this. Can you see how beautiful it is? So if you want only the collar stand, at this point your collar stand is ready. If you want only a collar stand on your collar, but if you want to go ahead with your collar, you come in by 1 inch from this point, as you can see on your collar stand. So after coming in by 1 inch, I want my collar to be 2.5 inches long. So I've gone ahead to mark 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and draw a straight line to the 1 inch I came in with on that collar stand. So I want that sharp, curve. So I'll just go out by 1/2 inch here, and then I'll connect this back to this point. It's very easy. Once you do this process twice, you'll be good with it. So the next thing is, on this point, I'm just going to go up by 1.5 inches. That is 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch. And then the whole process, I will explain this later, but then let me just go ahead and connect this to this point. So you go ahead and connect from this slanted point down to this point. Now you might wonder, why do we have this side bent and this side high up? So the simple route to making a collar is, this part of the collar and the collar stand has to be of the same measurement or with a little bit difference. So if you see mine, the collar stand is 1.25 inches and the collar is 1.5 inches. So it's just with 0.25 inch difference. I hope you understand. That's just the simple route to making a collar for it to balance. So that's why you can see this side is, slanted down and the other side is high up, so that when you bend over your collar, it stays well. It doesn't push the back pattern or the back of your shirt up. I hope you understand. So we'll just go ahead and cut this out. So this whole process is just for us to have well-seated collar at our neckline. Please pay close attention, watch closely on how I cut this out. So after cutting out, the next step is we're going to go ahead and bring out that piece of fabric we're using for the collar, and we'll go ahead and place that reflective side on the fabric. So I'll go ahead and place the reflective side on the fabric like this, leaving space underneath here, which is about 1 inch. So I've gone ahead to iron it down, and you can see I left the 1 inch space here. Next, I am going to fold this into two, fold the fabric into two, and I'll also leave enough space at the top here. I'll leave enough space at the top, which is about 1 inch as well. Then I'll go ahead and just iron this down. So the reason I am ironing this down is to get a midline. That's just the reason, to get a midline. So after ironing down, I'll just go ahead and use my office pin to hold this fabric down because I want to cut this out. Please watch closely this process I am doing right now. So I'll just go ahead and use my office pin to pin it down. So I will hold down the fabric because this fabric is silky, so therefore it is slippery and I want to avoid any So after doing that, the next step is I am going to come in with my scissors and just cut like this. So please watch, this is what I'm talking about. I'll just cut it out like this. So you can see while cutting, I am leaving space all around. So that's what I'm talking about. You leave space all around, which is about 1 inch. Now this is it, guys. I'll go ahead and remove the pins. I'll remove the pins. Then after removing the pins, I'll go ahead and open this up. And I'm going to iron my gum stay to this other part as well. So I'll iron it to this other part of the fabric. This is it, guys. I have ironed the gum stay to this other part of the fabric, and also I went ahead to iron in this 1 inch. That is the space I left underneath this place. I also ironed it up, as you can see. I ironed it up as well. So the next thing is I'll fold back this fabric into two again like this. I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on these edges. I'll just run a stitch on these edges of the gum stay. I hope you understand. Any part you do not understand, just ask your question on the comment section and I'll get to reply you. So after doing this, I'll show you guys. Just run a stitch on the edges of the gum stay. Just follow the pattern that you drafted out or cut out. So I've run a stitch around mine like this. I'll go ahead and cut off all the excesses. So while cutting off the excess, make sure you still get to leave fabrics spaces, little spaces, that is close to half an inch, or half an inch. You grab. So this is it. You see what I did? Please don't cut underneath. Next, to go ahead and notch those sharp points so that it relax. This is how you notch. Make sure you don't get close to what you stitched. I hope you saw that. So this is it, guys. Now after doing that, I'm going to turn this over. You can see that while cutting, I didn't touch anything underneath. I just cut the excess round the curves but not underneath. So after turning it over, you can use your any sharp edge to bring out those pointy parts. Just shook it out. So I'll go ahead and iron this. This is it, guys. I have pressed this down. I have ironed this. The next thing is just run a straight stitch from this point to this point. Just run a stitch. Run a stitch from this point to this point, a straight one, please. So I have done that. I have run a stitch across mine. So I'm just cutting off the excess that made this part look kind of having this unnecessary shapes. How do I put it? So I'm just trying to trim it off. If you enjoyed this video and if this video was helpful to you, do well to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Yeah, baby. After satisfying my cutting edges, I have gone ahead to bring out the shirts which I have sewn together already, and it's time to attach the collar to the shirt's neckline. So I'll go ahead and take this part of the collar and I will place it on one edge of the shirt neckline, and I'm going to sew it all through to the other edge of the shirt neckline. I hope you understand. Like, you take this part of the edge of your shirt, and then this part that you didn't get to iron in, you're going to iron it to your shirt neckline first. So I have done that. As you can see, I have ironed it like this, and this is what we have when we turn it over to the other side. So the next step now is we're gonna go ahead, and let me just show you this part one more time so you can see how neat it is. So make sure yours is neat, please. So the next part is we're going to go ahead and tuck in this part we just sewn in, and you see that part we ironed in earlier on. We're going to place it over like this. I think I need to zoom this. I still need to zoom this more so you see what I'm talking about. So this part we just sewed, finished stitching, we're going to tuck it into this part like this, and this part we sewn, then we're going to cover it up like this. So make sure it's cover up your previous stitch. Make sure you cover up your previous stitches, and you're going to run a stitch through it from this edge to the other edge. That's just it, while tucking this in. As you can see, the shirt is ready. So at this point, you can go ahead and place your button. And since this is a female shirt, the buttons should be placed on the right hand side. So in placing the buttons on the right hand side, if you're busty, just make sure you have 3 inches space between each buttons. If you're on the moderate size, you can just go ahead and make sure it is 4 inches. If on the small size, then I think 5 inches space between each buttons is okay. So guys, this is the outcome of the shirt, and you can see how beautiful it looks. So see you on my next video. Love ya.